Hello, I'm Dr. Sandro Carnicelli. I work at the University of the West of Scotland, and I am the head of the Marketing Events and Tourism Group. So we need to really be conscious about our activities and how that impact on a global scale. But actually, the contribution of tourism to climate change is much wider and bigger than only transport and aviation. The tourism industry has ramifications and contributes to many other sectors. So it would contribute to the fashion industry, contribute to the food production chain, will contribute to the construction sector. So we understand that we may see an impact if we reduce tourism in many other different sectors. This does not mean that we should not be tourists anymore, but we should definitely rethink how often we are tourists, how far we are going, and what does that mean for the climate emergency. So some of our work conceptualize the importance of the growth of tourism as an urgent and possible alternative to reduce emissions. For many years, we talked about sustainable and responsible tourism, and they are still important nowadays. But there's a lot of talk about the necessity to really change our behavior and the significant emissions caused by tourism. And we believe that the only possibility to do that would be through the degrowth. Scotland has been doing very well, initially in declaring climate emergency, and then also in the links between the multiple government agencies towards the targets. So Visit Scotland, for example, has been doing some excellent work with the businesses in reducing waste, recycling practices, implementing the green tourism certification. It has also focused its marketing campaign to the domestic tourism and encouraging people to visit the country instead of taking a long-haul flight overseas. On the other hand, there is still some narrative talking about sustainable growth. We are achieving the limits of growth in terms of resources, and we should actually be looking to the transformation of tourism instead of a sustainable growth. We need to move from a hedonistic approach of tourism based on the individual, on the tourist, to a tourism that is focused on the ethics of care for the environment, care for the communities, care for those marginalized. The question is, are we really able to shift the focus from our personal selves and our own personal place into the other and their environment? This is the biggest question mark that we need to think just now. COP26 is the opportunity to really bring those concrete and clear actions, but also to include and enhance the participation and voice of those islands that are isolated, those small countries, and those coastal communities. When we think about Scotland, a lot of people will think about Scotland and the Central Belt and the main cities, but large population in Scotland are based on islands and coastal communities, and there will be people suffering from climate change directly. And I would expect the Scottish government to really be positioning themselves next year as leaders among the nations in demonstrating the feasibility of achieving the net zero emission target in the next 20 or 25 years, if not before, as well as increasing and pointing out the increasing evidence of the social and economic benefits of achieving net zero emissions.